My name is Karen Sawyer. I've been dating my boyfriend, Henry, for 4 years. And we've been living together for 2 years with the intention of getting married. Henry has said that he wants to have a wedding ceremony when we have enough money. Even though we're at the point where all that's left is to register our marriage. As for me, I think it's okay to have the wedding ceremony later. But I want to at least register our marriage. However, Henry insists on having the wedding ceremony before registering the marriage. Amidst this, I found out I was pregnant. I happily told Henry, but he didn't seem very pleased. Pregnant?
Yeah,
That's right. Henry, frowning at me, seemed to say, "Why would you get pregnant?" That's why. I think we should at least register our marriage. I timidly said that. Why? If we don't register before the baby is born, the child will be considered illegitimate. Even if we get married, the child will be listed as an adopted child in the family register. That would be so sad. I see. But still, I think it's important to do things in order. Like having the wedding ceremony first. I couldn't say anything more to him, who said this seriously. But I desperately wanted to register our marriage before giving birth. I absolutely wanted to avoid our child being considered illegitimate. Thinking this, I repeatedly brought up the topic of registering our marriage to him. But the answer I got back was always the same. As I approached the due date, I stopped bringing up the topic of registration. My friends asked me, "Aren't you going to get married? Are you going to be a single mother?" My parents kept saying, "When are you going to get married?" But even if they say that, there's nothing I can do if he doesn't say yes. However, one day, he suddenly said, "Let's register our marriage after all." But you said the wedding comes first. I thought that, but if we marry after the baby is born, won't the child be considered an adopted child? It's weird to think of my own child as adopted. So, I thought it's better to at least register our marriage now, even if the wedding is later. I was happy he finally understood. But I was afraid his mind might change if we delayed any longer. Then, let's register our marriage today. Right now? Yes. There's a saying, strike while the iron is hot, right? Well,
yeah,
that's true. It's okay, now. What does he mean by now? Though his words puzzled me. Afraid that asking might change his mind. I didn't inquire further and rushed to the city hall. Despite having submitted our marriage registration, we weren't called for a while. I wondered why it was taking so long when a woman from the city hall came over and took me aside. Away from him. It's difficult to say this, but you're already married according to our register. Huh? What are you talking about? You're married, aren't you? No. But it shows you are in 2 years of marriage. I've never been married. Why would that be? That, I don't know. We only processed that needed to be. Who is the other party? A foreign national. Foreign national? I don't know such a person. Are you saying you have absolutely no knowledge of this? None at all. If that's the case, did you possibly lend your name to someone? Why would I do such a thing? To acquire American permanent residency. Marrying an American and staying in America for 2 years. Brings the foreign national 10 years green card. There are cases where people do that to acquire nationality. That's absurd. I don't even know any foreigners. Then, it might be best to consult the police. Then, what about our marriage? Under the current circumstances, we can't process your marriage registration. This is terrible. When can we get married? If your marital status is dissolved. Which means divorce the foreign national man, you can register a marriage with him. How? We can't tell you anything here, so please ask the police, I'm afraid. I'm pregnant, it's his child. I understand that, but it's determined by civil law. This is absurd. Henry. Noticing I hadn't returned and sensing a dispute even without hearing the conversation. Came over. What's wrong? Did something happen? The city hall staff, upon seeing him, walked away as if they could no longer intervene. But what should I do? Should I tell him the truth? But now that he's finally ready to marry, wouldn't knowing the truth make him call off the marriage? What will happen to our child then? But beyond the fear, anger was rising. Why should I be afraid over something I hadn't done? Why is this happening to me? Hey, what happened? Overwhelmed by the sudden revelation, I blurted out, the police. And started running. Surprised, he chased after me, caught up, and demanded an explanation. What's going on? Hey. Karen. He grabbed me and shouted his questions. I thought, I can't. I have to tell him, or this will turn into a fight. I steeled myself and told him everything I had just learned. Name lending. His quiet murmur pierced my heart. I didn't do such a thing. I don't know any foreigners, and I wanted to marry you, Henry. There's no way I would do something like that. I know. It's okay. He tried to reassure me, saying it was okay, but his complexion turned pale. I thought he might be considering calling off our marriage. That's why we have to go to the police. We can't let this go. We need to get this sorted out. But for some reason, he was against the idea. There's no need to go to the police. Why? I'm being prevented from marrying you over something I didn't do. But, look, it's not really a problem, is it? Not a problem? How can you say that? Soon, this baby will be born. If that happens, even if we marry, this child will be considered an adoptee. How can you say there's no problem with that? Well, it can't be helped. These things happen. He forced a smile, trying to calm me down, but my anger didn't subside. What when this child grows up and sees their family register? They'll think they were adopted. No matter how much we explain, they won't understand. That's something we can't help. We'll deal with it when the time comes. That's just. Come on, let's not worry about it too much. Let's just give up on this, okay? How can you be so calm about this? It's strange. I'm not calm. But this is the situation we're in. Sometimes, you have to accept things. Despite his words, upon closer inspection, he seemed not calm but rather anxious. It didn't seem to be about my supposed divorce history, but rather about the idea of going to the police. Why? Why can't we go to the police? Dealing with the police and all that, it's just a hassle, isn't it? What if something happens to the baby because of all this stress? We should focus on making sure the baby is born safely. I'm just worried about you. Really? Going to the police is just a consultation. I can't see how that would harm the baby. Even if we consult the police, it's not like we can get married right away, right? If consulting today meant we could marry today, then sure, it'd be worth it. But that's not going to happen, right? So, it's a waste of time. A waste. Yeah, it's just a waste of time. With that, he left to buy a drink, leaving me to ponder. As I watched him walk away, memories of our time together flooded back. Every time I brought up marriage, he found a reason to postpone it. He didn't seem happy when I told him I was pregnant. He looked at my growing belly as if it were a nuisance, sighing deeply and frequently checking the calendar. I couldn't understand why. Perhaps he didn't want to get married at all. I had thought this not just once or twice. And yet, today, he suddenly suggested we register our marriage. I thought, it's strange. He says we should register our marriage. Yet he remains so calm in the face of such a situation. He doesn't blame me or panic. Instead, he tries to stop me from going to the police. Why? After 4 years together, I find myself unable to understand him. And suspicions begin to surface. Here, I bought this for you. Coffee is bad for the baby, right? So, I got you juice instead. Drink this and calm down. Thank you. I accept the juice, looking up at his face, but the doubts remain. Hey. What? Was it you? Eh? What do you mean? Did you arrange for me to be married? Eh? No, why would I do something like that? He laughs, but his face seems strained. If I had done something like that, I wouldn't be talking about getting married, right? It's only been 2 years since that marriage was registered, hasn't it? I thought, 2 years. That's not something I said. I stared at him intently. What? Is there something on my face? I said we couldn't get married. But I never mentioned anything about the register being 2 years. Really? No, that's not right. You just said it a while ago. You're just too upset and forgot. Henry is clearly flustered. His nostrils flare, a sign that he's lying. Why would you do something like this? Because. Feeling trapped by my piercing gaze, he seems to relent and finishes his coffee. Why? Why did you do this? He starts to justify himself as if resigning to the situation. It can't be helped. You kept talking about marriage. And from my side, I'm doing all I can, but we also need money. Especially if we want to have a wedding ceremony. We just needed the money. But I said it was okay, just to register our marriage. Why would you resort to a sham marriage for that? It's fine, isn't it? Thanks to that, we got some money. So that's why you were always looking at the calendar? Waiting for the 2 years to be up? Yeah, that's right. After 2 years, we'd get a divorce, and that would be the end of it. What do you mean, the end of it? In the end, we can't even get married. It's not like we can't get married. We just have to wait for a bit. After coming this far, it isn't a big deal. So, for that, our child has to be born out of wedlock? You don't think that's a big deal? I'm going to end up with a divorce record without even being married. This is ridiculous. Who are you planning to marry anyway? Hey? You're marrying me, right? Then what does it matter if you have a marriage or divorce record? I know all about it. If you were marrying someone else. Yeah. Having a divorce record might be a disadvantage. A divorce record isn't something to be taken lightly, is it? It's light. Who looks at a record unless they need to? Why are you making such a big deal out of this? You're overthinking things. I can't see it as simply as you do. You're so stubborn, really. Try to think more flexibly. There are still plenty of foreigners at my company, you know. Lending my name to just one person nets $5,000. Can you imagine how many tens of thousands of dollars we can make going forward? A mark on the family register is nothing in comparison. Why would you do something like this? I heard it from the foreigners at the company. Marry an American woman for 2 years, even a sham marriage. And you can get a long-term green card. But if you ask an organization to arrange it, it costs tens of thousands. They said they couldn't afford that. So, I asked how much they could pay, and they said $5,000 was the limit. So, I thought, why not? And you arranged for me to be married because of that?
Yeah.
It was a great idea, wasn't it? We got $5,000 out of it. Even though I hadn't considered we couldn't remarry immediately after a divorce. So that's why you kept finding reasons to avoid registering our marriage. Exactly, that's right. And that's why you were always looking at the calendar.
Yeah.
Man, I was so nervous. It was almost time for the divorce, and then you were about to give birth. Honestly, I didn't want the child to be considered adopted. It's my own flesh and blood, after all. So, I was hoping the 2 years would pass quickly. I was worried what would happen if the birth came early, but it all worked out in the end. Though I never expected this kind of accident. This is awful. To tarnish someone's marital record over something like this. Don't worry about it. They just took a little time and delayed the process. We can register our marriage soon. To think you'd treat someone's marriage and divorce so lightly. No one would believe this if I told them. No need to tell anyone, right? This is a crime. It's a fraud. If you don't say anything, no one will know. But that makes me a criminal too. Not if you don't talk about it. Plus, the foreigner involved will eventually get permanent residency if we keep quiet. I got some money, and very soon, we can get married. It's all good. If that's the case. Let's have a wedding ceremony. We can have the ceremony and then register our marriage. You have $5,000, right? Why are you silent? You have it, right? About that. It's gone. I suspected as much. Someone willing to engage in such deceitful acts wouldn't just be after wedding money. There had to be another motive. My trust in him crumbled, feeling like the man I knew was disappearing into a mist. Why is it gone? Well, I had some urgent expenses. I used it for that. What did you spend it on? I had some debts. It looked like things were going to get pretty bad if I didn't pay them off. What kind of debts? Various kinds, you know. And are all your debts paid off now? He didn't answer. So, you still have debts? Well,
yeah.
But there are lots of foreigners at my company, you know. There's always a way to make money. So you used my name. I guess I have no choice but to go to the police. Because it's a crime. Now that I know about it, reporting it to the police is my duty as a citizen. You've got to be kidding. I won't let you go to the police. Despite his protest, I started running towards the police station. Instead of trying to stop me by grabbing me, he pushed me from behind. Due to the push, I fell down the stairs, which caused my water to break. An ambulance was called, and amidst the pain and anxiety, I was desperate to protect my baby. I was taken to the hospital, where my child was safely born, but he never came to visit me. I could not forgive him for trying to kill our child. Henry had no regard for human life. Not even the life of his own child. I couldn't believe I had fallen for such a person, and I couldn't help but despise myself for it. After being discharged from the hospital, I went straight to my parents' house to discuss the matter with my mother. I can't believe he was such a person. Upon hearing my story, my mother was shocked and shed tears at my suffering. So, what will you do now? I was made to participate in a sham marriage, and he almost killed our child. I have no intention of forgiving him. I see. So, you've settled your feelings towards him then? Yes, I'm glad I found out what kind of man he was before we registered our marriage. Mom, what he did is punishable by law, right? Yes. She started searching on her smartphone. It seems like it falls under the crime of creating a false official document. The penalty is imprisonment for up to 5 years or a fine of up to $5,000. Imprisonment for up to 5 years? Yes, it seems you can just pay a fine and that's it. It feels too lenient, doesn't it? To tarnish someone's family register and get away with such a light punishment is unforgivable. I'll definitely get my revenge. Determined to make him pay for ruining my life and almost involving our child, I vowed to bring him down to hell. A few days later, after leaving my child with my mother, I headed to Henry's parents' house. It's been a while. Oh, welcome. Where's the baby? I have something important to discuss today, so I left the baby at home. Oh, is that so? She seemed a bit disappointed, but that was the least of my concerns. Henry isn't with you, is he? No. Because I came here about Henry. Seeing my serious demeanor, Henry's parents looked at each other and then sat upright to listen to what I had to say. I have some shocking news. Recently, I went to submit our marriage registration. Oh. So you finally officially got married. That was the plan. However, it turned out that I was married. Eh? Of course, I've never been married or divorced. When I asked who the other party was, they said it was a foreign national. What? And Henry? This is the shocking part. I thought it might be a fraud. So I suggested going to the police, but Henry said not to. When I pressed him for an explanation, it turned out he had arranged for me to be married without my knowledge. That's ridiculous. Permanent residency can be acquired by marrying an American woman and staying married for 2 years. Henry knew this and arranged for me to marry someone, planning to file for divorce after 2 years. Did Henry really do this? Yes, I confirmed it. That's why I tried to go to the police, but I was pushed down the stairs, my water broke, and I was hospitalized. My child was born safely, but what he did is unforgivable. What a terrible thing to do. I'm so sorry. I apologize. Yes. But I can't forgive him. Of course. He tried to kill your child by arranging a sham marriage. That's unforgivable. Indeed. What was he thinking doing such a thing? He said he had debts. And there are still debts remaining. Do you know what the debts were for? No, he didn't disclose that. That's why Henry isn't with you today. Rather than that, I haven't seen him since he pushed me down the stairs. He didn't visit me in the hospital or see the child. I see. That's terrible. I understand you can't forgive him, but is there something you want from us? More than a request, I wanted you to know everything. I can't forgive him, so I will divorce him. I don't know what trouble might come to you in the future. That's why I thought you should know. Right. If we didn't know, who knows what else he might do. And we can't just let this go. What do you mean? If we sided with him after all this, it would be a disservice to Karen. I think it's only natural for you to want a divorce. As parents, all we can do is turn our backs on him. If he comes to us for help, I don't plan on forgiving him. Is that okay? Thank you. I couldn't ask for more, so I'll accept your decision as your will. And since he tried to kill our child, I'll make sure he faces justice. Even if it means you'll resent me, it can't be helped. What do you mean by that? I'm going to the police to tell them everything. That's unavoidable. Making him atone for his sins is for the best. Yes. Henry's mother looked very distressed. It's understandable, considering her child might be arrested. But I almost lost my child. Even though I understand her feelings, it doesn't change what I have to do. Can you contact Henry? Yes, I think so, but why? call him here. Why? Even if we're going to hand him over to the police. It's better if he turns himself in. Plus, he owes Karen an apology. Okay, I understand. Without telling her son that I was there or about the sham marriage. She simply said she wanted to see him and called him over. Contrary to expectations, Henry came, thinking he could enjoy a homemade meal. However, he found me there instead. Why is Karen here? Henry, do you realize what you've done? What do you mean? You pushed Karen when she was at full term. That. Karen just missed her step. Karen, why are you twisting the story? It's unthinkable for a pregnant woman at full term to just miss her step. She would be walking with the utmost care. But Karen is always so careless. It happens. What about the sham marriage? And how do you plan to excuse that? So, you've been talking to Dad, huh? You told him. It's true then? Well, if you know, there's no point in hiding it, right? It's not a big deal anyway. Not a big deal?
Yeah.
Because it's true. There are foreigners who want American nationality, so I just helped them out. That's all it is. If you think about it, it's like helping people. How could you do such a thing? Karen didn't know about it, did she? That wouldn't have been a problem if we had just not married until the foreign nationals things settled down. It's just that I didn't fully understand the law about remarriage. Karen was just too obsessed with registering the marriage. Of course she was obsessed with it. She was about to have a child. If she hadn't rushed, we could have married normally very soon. But because of that, Karen's marital record is now tainted. Don't you feel bad? No, I don't. It's not like I said I wouldn't marry her. If she marries me, there's no problem, right? The problem is her saying she'll go to the police. Karen has decided not to marry you. What? Really? Yes, I've lost all feelings for you. What about the child? Though, since we weren't married, I guess you can't demand alimony or child support from me. Right, I have nothing to demand from you. Then it's fine. I was thinking marrying you might not be the best idea anyway. What do you mean? If I married you, I couldn't make you marry off foreigners anymore. Missing out on such a good deal just because we have a child? I think it's better not to miss out on such opportunities. What kind of person are you? If we're not getting married, it works out. You need money to raise a child, right? Just marry another foreigner. After 2 years, you can divorce. It's not a big deal just because you're registered. Creating a false official document. What's that? Your crime. Why would I have a crime against me? Because it's a crime.
Ha!
That's only if you report it to the police. You don't want to be pushed down the stairs again, right? Or maybe this time, the child will get hurt? So, don't think about reporting to the police. Instead of doing that, why not lend me your name and make money together? I don't think so. You're so stubborn. Henry, what you did is a crime. Turn yourself in. Huh? Don't be ridiculous. Why should I turn myself in? I was helping people. How can that be considered helping? Besides, you pushed Karen down the stairs. That was because Karen. You just confessed, didn't you? Confessed? What are you talking about? You admitted to pushing her down. And now, threatening harm to the child? You're just piling on more crimes. That's just a slip of the tongue. I haven't done anything wrong. It's all for helping people. I've made up my mind. I won't report him to the police. Karen. As long as he thinks this way, reporting him would be futile. So, I won't report him to the police. Is that really okay? Yes, it's okay. I don't want to risk my child's life anymore. Please live peacefully. That's the Karen I know, always understanding. Then, I'll be leaving now.
Yeah. Bye. Bye.
Now, I'll have to find another woman to lend her name. That way, I can make a fortune. Wasting 4 years on such a foolish man was a complete waste of time. But I had no intention of letting it end there. I went straight to a lawyer to seek advice and decided to sue Henry. Henry, I never said I would let you off the hook. I just said I wouldn't report you to the police. Enjoy your descent into hell. After suing him, the police took the matter seriously. The foreigner involved was deported. After paying $5,000 and then being deported, it must have been a tough break for him. Henry ended up receiving a prison sentence. Initially, he boasted that he would just pay a fine of $5,000, but his parents, disgusted by his actions, refused to pay the fine and didn't visit him. As a result, he spent 5 years in prison. Upon release, Henry faced the reality of being jobless. Disowned by his parents, Henry had no one to turn to. Although he lightly thought he could just find another woman for a sham marriage. However, finding a woman willing to participate wasn't as easy as he thought. And he ended up facing a new punishment, loneliness. Without a place to live and with a criminal record, he couldn't find employment anywhere. His life became almost homeless-like, and at one point, he desperately came to me, asking me to lend my name again. When I heard his request, I was astonished he was still thinking along those lines. And of course, I refused. I told him to find legitimate work if he didn't want to end up back in prison. But whether he took it to heart or not, he left without even seeing his child. As for where he is now and what he's doing, not even a rumor has reached me. Meanwhile, I've returned to my parents' home, where we're raising my child together. Despite the difficult circumstances surrounding the birth, my child is growing up healthy and keeping me on my toes every day. Yet, I find this daily life incredibly fulfilling.